Welcome to the first edition of Ching Ching Sports. Between two cappers, you guys have known us as Ching Ching Sports for a while now. I think it's what 3-4 years now as Ching Ching Sports, Joe.
Yeah.
Sounds about right. Sounds about right. Going on 4 years right now. Hitting the NBA playoffs for the fourth straight year. 3 years of amazing success, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, especially the first time around. I remember the first playoffs that we went in on. I think it was 2014, 15.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big splash.
This is our first year, and I was young when we first jumped into this. I think I was about 23 years old. I'm 27 now. And what I first remember was we went out with a bang and started out, I think, 6 or 7, 8-0, 9-0, maybe even 10-0 in the first round or two. So
it's documented.
And it's all documented, yes. But at the same time, that's just getting into our history. You guys know us. If you guys are following this, you guys know us and what we've done over the last couple of years. What we really want to get into is this year's playoffs, obviously, because that's on everybody's mind, obviously, right? So starting with a quick recap, we're going to start out by saying we're finally glad to see what we've been all waiting for, which is Houston versus Golden State. Cavs versus whoever the heck, right? Nobody cares. It's going to be Cavs versus, it's going to be Houston or Golden State. Unless, honestly, I had a slight thought the 76ers may have had a chance against Cleveland, but they didn't show up by any means. So the Celtics' better coaching gets you further, obviously, as we've all learned. So starting out, weird thing, first off the bat, Joe, what did you think about Toronto-Washington? Toronto took them 4-2 in that series. Kind of interesting.
Yeah, that was an interesting game. All series was an interesting game. Game one especially. Remember last year, Toronto really not performed well in the playoffs. A lot of scrutiny for head coach Dwayne Casey going into the playoffs. After performing so poorly in recent years past and coming out and pretty much putting a solid ass whooping on Washington game one was kind of a tone setter for the rest of that series, I feel like.
Yeah, I'll say. Finishing the series 4-2. Sorry to cut you off there. Finishing the series 4-2, seeing the Cavs in Indiana go 7 games straight. That was wild. There was only 2 Game 7s in the entire playoffs so far. Both of them came from the Eastern Conference first round. Another shocker. Following the Cavs and Indiana Pacers kind of struggled through, at least Cleveland struggling through the Pacers, you finish up with a sweep against the Raptors. I want to touch on that just because, we've always said it. The NBA has a serious rigging that goes on into the playoffs. One of those kind of touches on the Toronto Raptors. Toronto Raptors, in my opinion, we've always said it, it's a Canadian team. Unfortunately, we love them. Yeah. Canadians, whatever. But for some reason, they get shafted. They get shafted by the refs. They get shafted by a lot of different things, in our opinion. It'd be nice to see thoughts on that if you guys want to comment on that later. But, Joe, what are your thoughts on that sweep, honestly?
Yeah, man, who would have predicted that Cleveland would have swept Toronto in that situation? Toronto definitely feeling like they had something to prove that series. Cleveland being the team that's really been there and led by LeBron James, never can count a team out, led by LeBron James. But Toronto must have felt some serious momentum coming in to that series after what they displayed against Washington.
Okay, so like I was saying, what are your thoughts on Kyle Lowry and DeRozan? What are their next moves? Go ahead.
Yeah, they've got to be frustrated after the success they did have in the regular season and all that momentum that they felt like they had going into the playoffs. And, after especially beating Washington the way they did, you'd think that they would have at least put up a little bit of a better battle against Cleveland. Obviously, Cleveland is the proven team that's been there before. They've gone head-to-head against against Golden
But in
State.
particular, I'm talking about the future of Toronto with Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan. Not necessarily how they got smacked by Cleveland. I don't care about LeBron. Everybody knew LeBron was going to make his way to the finals. Let's be real. Didn't matter who was going to be in front of him. I want to know what you think about DeRozan and Lowry future in Toronto.
Well, I mean, if you gotta know that Lowry and DeRozan, they're both under contract, I think, for a couple more years. So it's not like they're necessarily going anywhere.
Easy trades. They got to make a move. You know that. Come on, let's be realistic. They've been 4 years in a row now smashed by the Cavs. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
3 or 4. I can't remember if it's 3 or 4. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's a lot. For a franchise, for a team, for 2 superstar talents. I mean, Kyle Lowry, I'm not a huge fan. He takes a lot of ill-advised shots that he can't make from the three-point line. He's not Curry. He is a talent, but DeRozan and Lowry together obviously is not what you need in the playoffs. Toronto,
Do you think, though, that if Toronto did make some trades, the problem that I have with that is they already got the number 1 seed. They already achieved that goal.
Mm-hmm.
They've already proven themselves in the regular season that they can win ball games in the regular season. It's for some reason that this squad tends to break down in the playoffs. And what the question that you have to ask yourself is, are you going to be able to trade to the point where you can
be better?
Is that going to be a better investment?
Or do they just need to move out of Canada? Is that the second question? Because goodness gracious, how many times do we need to see Canada get knocked out?
The problem is if you do trade some of those players, you don't know if you can get anybody in return back that could get them that number 1 seed and get them that opportunity to make that push. And that's why,
Well, I mean, look at. It's tough for them, obviously. If you think about what Philly did, they went through a whole revamp, and it took them, 5 years before their draft picks started to pan out, and now look where they're at. Obviously, Toronto doesn't want to do that. They don't want to completely revamp the team. But trading one of those superstar talents, in my opinion, for, say, a lottery pick, that could be valuable. But then you pair them with a lottery pick, and then you're going with I got a coach as if say, for instance, they trade Lowry for a first-round lottery pick, which is any team that does that, in my opinion, they're stupid. But Lowry, like I said, I'm not a big fan. There's so many good point guards in the league. He takes way too many unvaluable shots at valuable points in the game. So without him, there's a lot of Terry Rozier, for instance. You give up. Like, that guy's gonna be a hot commodity in this market. Is Terry Rozier? There's no way around that. There's no way around Terry Rozier right now. Scary Terry is here, and he's here to stay. You got Kyrie Irving on the bench getting overshadowed by a guy. What was the stat I saw the other day? In the fourth quarter, 95 minutes or something like that, he had 1 turnover in the fourth quarter in the playoffs. He just recorded his first turnover in the playoffs in the last game in the fourth quarter. And it was something like 17 assists to mirror that. So 17-1 turnover ratio for a guy that's never met the playoffs, never seen a lick of starting time. Yeah. Really? I mean, except for this year. Louisville.
Yeah.
Breeding talent.
And I think I saw a stat the other day that he would average 13.5 points a game during the regular season. And now, since the NBA playoffs have started, don't quote me on the exact number, but I believe Terry Rozier is averaging 18.5 points a game.
Yeah, something around that, 18 to 19 points. And the guy's a talent. Now that's a great idea for Toronto, but will Boston trade with Toronto? I mean, the Eastern Conference is, it's as bugged out as it is with LeBron there, but I think LeBron's moving. I think LeBron's moving to LA, but that's me.
And going back to the whole Toronto maybe trading a couple components, in my opinion, if they were to do that, and they did indeed find someone that would want to take a trade on Kyle Lowry, I think that would be, I just want to say this, I think that would be a much better decision than it would be in chipping away
for a lottery.
Like DeMar DeRozan.
Oh, yeah, well, you got to keep DeRozan. DeRozan, in my opinion, is the closest thing in the league to mirror the shots that Kobe Bryant used to take. Some of the shots that DeRozan is making from mid-range mirror exactly what Kobe and MJ. If anybody's ever seen the mirror video of Kobe and MJ, I recommend watching it if you have not seen it. But if you have, you know exactly what I'm talking about. DeRozan makes those fadeaways, and the only person that I've seen come close to that now, Joe, is LeBron. This last series was crazy. Some of the shots he was making were outlandish.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen anything from him that mirrors a shooter until now.
I think it was game 2 in Boston. In Toronto, which would have been game 4 overall in the whole series.
Yeah.
It was. It was game 2 in Toronto where he just completely dominated that game. I forgot that they had home court series advantage.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild to see how many dominant players are coming to the league with all the triple doubles that are making it almost like a regular thing nowadays. 10 years ago, triple doubles were like a once in a 50 game thing to see in the whole league.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh, there wasn't a triple double tonight. I don't necessarily know why, but there's a lot of selfish people going on. Like Westbrook, in my opinion, all he does is go for his triple doubles. He doesn't go for the win. He goes for a triple double. Now, I want to drop this. Drop Toronto. That's cool. We discussed them enough. They're out. They're already done. So whatever. Boston, Milwaukee started out 7 games. The other 7-game series in the Eastern Conference. Little confusion there as to how Milwaukee loses to Boston, but now Boston finishes off the Sixers with ease.
Yeah.
Is it coaching? It's got to be coaching.
Well, it's funny about
Brad Stevens is.
Milwaukee. It's funny about that Boston and Milwaukee series because it did go game 7, and I believe me and you talked about it multiple times that series where we kind of had the idea Boston was going to win that series. Like it seemed kind of inevitable. The way that series went to game 7 kind of seemed a little bit for entertainment, especially game 6 with how Milwaukee played. But you really didn't have any doubt. I guess I would speak in my own mind with Boston coming out on top in that game 7, and kind of ironic to say that because they did it again against the Sixers. Right after that, they got a couple of good wins on the road, and then they actually lost one, which then they had a chance to close that at home, and they did. And then they another clutch closeout win at home by Coach Brad Stevens.
Like Shaq was saying. I'll say it over again. Coaching is key. Defense and discipline is key. Charles Barkley against a fight against Shaq. I'll take Shaq all day. By the way. Anyways, moving on. Celtics literally handled business against a team that we thought there was a chance of. We mentioned this after Game 1 a couple days ago Game 3 I believe it was Game 4. My apologies. So when Boston was up 3-0, me and Joe had a discussion together before we decided that we were going to move on towards videos towards you guys. And that discussion entailed we thought that if Philly could win games 4 and 5, that there was a very significant chance and almost a very long shot for Boston, but that first 3-0 loss in the playoffs. And what's it, 150, now 145-0, something silly like that. For people that have started out with a 3-0 series lead in the playoffs. Sixers, in my opinion, had that opportunity. They blew it. Ben Simmons, you're young. That's fine. Joel Embiid, you're young. You guys are going to be fantastic talents. Don't stop. But getting away from the Eastern Conference, I'm sick of talking about it because everybody wants to talk about Houston and Golden State. We all know Houston starting this playoffs, number 1 seed. They were going to end up against Golden State. Didn't matter who you put in front of either team. You got Chris Paul, James Harden matching up against anybody. That's game over. They've proven themselves as a very significant talent together. And then you got Golden State, which is obviously proven in the last couple of years. One thing that was weird to me in that start of this Western Conference playoffs, you're born and bred Portland Trailblazers, Joe. What do you think happened in that sweep against the Pelicans?
Well, anytime a team gets swept, it's a...
Your team, too.
Thank you for that
double whammy.
Double take there. But, no, anytime you get swept, especially after you had the Trailblazers did have this year. It's kind of shocking. I follow the Blazers pretty closely, and some of the wins they had during the regular season, they was a pretty notable wins. Couple games we beat Golden State. We went to the wire with Houston at home, but we didn't win that. We beat Minnesota and multiple playoff contenders, and you really thought that they would at least do something. I think we even won the series against New Orleans this year in the regular season.
You did. You guys did. You handled them with ease. And one thing that really was confusing to me myself, from Seattle, obviously, I'm not a Portland fan. Just because you guys are too close, we don't have a team anymore, which is why I focused on this. But touching on that, Portland had, I think it was statistically in the season, the number one overall defense in the league, which was shocking to me, over Utah, over a team like it shocked me when I heard that. And the fact that they got swept by the Pelicans, fine and dandy. The Pelicans also got, for lack of better words, shit on. 4-1 against Golden State following that up. Same thing with Utah, 4-1 against Houston. We're going into the Western and Eastern Conference. Excuse me, let me stumble a little bit. Western and Eastern Conference Finals now, Joe. I got the spreads here ready for you if you haven't heard them. These things are pretty hot. They're moving quickly. We're talking about this. These came out at the beginning of today. We've already seen a 2-point movement in an over/under for the Cavs Celtics. We've seen a 1.5 movement. Same thing over/under for Houston Golden State. A consistent -1 on the Cavs, a movement on Houston. Let's start with what everybody wants to talk about, which is Golden State Houston.
Yeah. Man, so much to say about that series in the West.
Defense. Let's start with that. Top two defenses in the West.
Let's just start with how, to my memory, we talked about it. I can remember at the beginning of the year how that was the clear two-headed monster out west. Like,
yeah,
no matter
what 100%.
happened in the regular season, no matter how the other teams in the West did, you pretty much knew that the two teams would be the Houston Rockets versus the Golden State Warriors. It was
100%.
It seemed to be destiny. And now the fact that it's here, I think that everybody's kind of got this anxiousness to kind of see what happens. And looking at the line, particularly, with the Rockets, playing at home, lots of momentum on their side, based on how they've played this playoff. You see that they got they got 1.5 points. They're favored by 1.5.
Actually, 2 now. Like I said, there was a 0.5 point movement already in Houston's favor. It's at 2 now.
Yeah.
And that dropped from a 225.5. That line movement started for the over/under 225 points down to 224. So a 1.5 jumped down. And the reason why, there's already 70% of the public, money-wise, is already on the over. And that's obvious reasons why. It makes sense. You got two hot shooting teams. One thing people forget to look at in the playoffs, everybody plays defense. And you're talking about the top two defenses in the league on the Western Conference side going against each other with length and tenacity. And in a lack of other words, again, you got additions from Houston this year that are huge. Luka Mbah-a-Moute, you got P.J. Tucker, two huge defensive specimens that just got added to the lineup. Clint Capella, averaging more blocks, I think, than anybody but Anthony Davis. Gerald Green, the three-point specialist they added. All these different pieces that Houston's been compiling. And props to Mike D'Antoni, honestly. I have no complaints about what he has done. He brought back his wild running gun offense, and he is making it more effective than anything I've ever seen. I have no problems with that. My picks for the Houston Golden State game so far, let me finish this and I'll let you go. Houston, in my opinion, against Golden State, I'm not touching anything game one other than the under. And the reason I say that is these are defensive teams, defensive-minded at heart. It really doesn't matter who wins game one, in my opinion. I think Houston might get the edge. I don't know if they're going to cover. It might be a 1-point finish. Like we've said, Vegas is a crazy wild beast. So far, what I'm looking at here is 63% of the public money is on Golden State. And then there's been no action so far on the over-under in that game. So at least public money-wise, we follow that very tightly here at Ching Ching Sports. So at this point, that's going to be a wild matchup. Everybody knows that. We might stay away. We might take the under. We haven't really decided. We might even move towards an over. Honestly, this just came out earlier this morning, so we're going to discuss this, and you guys can follow on our Instagram page, Ching Ching Sports, if you already aren't. But at the same time, we might post a free play in the next day or two on YouTube or on Instagram, so follow that. Moving on from Golden State and Houston, we're going to touch base on the Cavs and the Celtics. At this point, the Cavs are a 1-point favorite to open it up, and 82% of the public is on that. Touch on that, and then we'll get into the over-under in a second, but let's touch on Cavs versus Celtics just on the spread.
Well, as we know, fading the public is something that is quite a good tactic in some situations, and especially when playoffs get this late into thick of things. Definitely refereeing and Vegas and all those factors become a play, and you've got all those people betting on one team. You kind of wonder, what more there might be to think about. And yeah, that's quite a heavy number.
I mean, 82, that's early. I mean, I think there's only about 5,000, 6,000, maybe close to 7 now. I mean, like I said, I'm spitballing because it's getting closer and closer as we speak towards game time, even though it is Sunday. There was already 6,000 people betting on this game before this conversation between me and you even started. So 82%, 6,000. Decent numbers, but we've been seeing around 25,000 tickets in on every single game. And then the last game we saw last night with the Celtics and the Sixers, that totaled 35,000 tickets in. So people are starting to get heavier and heavier and heavier on their picks, and the more and more we go into these playoffs, that's where Ching Ching Sports excels, is when more and more people and more heads are on it. Because, as we've mentioned, Vegas is controlled by the refs. The refs are controlled by Vegas. It's hand-in-hand motion. And it's very obvious if you pay attention to it. The more and more you pay attention to us, we're going to point out exactly why. Now, touching on that over-under, Joe. Opened up already. 2-point movement. It started and opened at 205 and is now down to 203. What do you think the reason for that movement is?
It could be a combination of some people maybe favoring the under and tickets being placed on the under, and then...
Well, 75% of the public is already on the under. I forgot to mention that. So that's probably dragging the line down. Probably Vegas trying to garnish more bets on the over. Now, in our experience, sorry to cut you off again.
Wouldn't be surprised if that line actually went back up.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was about to touch on is what we've seen in our experience is a lot of line switch-ups. So I'm expecting a lot of over-unders to switch up. One game goes over, one game goes under. And my pick, honestly, is first and foremost is going to be just straight off the bat, don't take this pick, people, because this isn't one of these locked in that we will send you. But first thought, I'm thinking Golden State Houston is going to go under, and then Cavs and Celtics will probably rise up and over. And the reason why I say that is because Celtics Cavs defensively not as great on a low number like that. Sure, we've seen points move down, but also 60 or 75% is on that under. And that is a heavy tradition that we've seen. When there's more than 70% on any line, you see heavy movement that opposite way. So, basically, I mean, my thoughts, I don't know what yours are, but first and foremost, I'm thinking Houston and then the under that game. And then probably, I'm guessing LeBron's going to do his thing and the game's going to go over because the Celtics can shoot. I mean, you got guys like Jaylen Brown. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have been phenomenal. And don't even get me started on Terry Rozier. The things that the Celtics are doing are kind of astounding. Better coaching. What do you think? Let me get your early series prediction on Cavs Celtics is what I want to know, because coaching versus non-coaching.
Yeah, man. A lot of people thought that even be in this opportunity after Kyrie Irving went down.
Exactly.
The fact that,
And Hayward. I mean, the first game of the season. Gordon Hayward down. That was the end of the spell. That was supposed to be Boston's end. And then Kyrie pulls him to the playoffs. He's gone.
Now that Boston's there, like, you can't necessarily doubt Brad Stevens and what he's done, and LeBron and the Cavs are back, and obviously they have Tyronn Lue, who I personally don't think is as involved as a head coach. So Boston, that series might have the coaching edge.
Whenever I think Tyronn Lue, all I think of is when he was an NBA player getting stepped over in the playoffs.
By Allen.
Exactly, by Allen Iverson. It's the most repulsive scene you'll see for an NBA player to get a part of, being the guy getting stepped over. But, I mean, Tyronn Lue is Tyronn Lue. You know who the head coach of that team is. It's LeBron James. You can see it in every huddle. Doesn't matter what's going on with Tyronn. He's even off the huddle. He's not even in the huddle sometimes. It's astounding. So
it's the Bron show.
It is the Bron show. It's Bron's plan. Just like Drake said, God's plan is Bron's plan. Now, my prediction with this series might shock you. I think the Celtics take it in 7. And the reason I say that is because I think LeBron's on the move. I don't think he wants the Cavs. I mean, deep down he's from Cleveland. Sure, he might want the Cavs to get another ring. But he's showing out because he has 2 houses in LA now. He was seen searching for different school structures in LA for his daughter. Then you look at Paul George. He pulled out his daughter from the school system in OKC 3 days before that school year ended, which is sending a message. Otherwise, you'd let your daughter stay, right? Paul George wants out. He's going to the Lakers too.
Jeff is a big Homer fan for LA.
I do like the Lakers. I will say, since Seattle left, I'm a huge Kobe guy. I've always been a Kobe guy, but honestly, since Kobe's left, it's been in shambles, and it's nice to see them start to pick up where they left off, I guess, if you will, with Kobe Bryant. And the one thing I will say, I've been talking about it with one of my good coworkers I work with, is Paul George and LeBron may come over into free agency, right? So if they get over, because Lakers have that cap room, right? Lakers have the cap room for all of that. Now, on top of that, there also is discussion of Kawhi Leonard going over to the Lakers. Now, the only way that happens is if Julius Randle and Brandon Ingram get traded to San Antonio, which leaves the Lakers with the 6th man as Kuzma, with the starting lineup of Lonzo Ball, Paul George, Kawhi or LeBron. They switch at the 3 and the 4. So you got Kawhi and LeBron in that lineup, and then Lopez. That's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that starts at 6'6" at Lonzo. Hey, why not end with the Lakers, right? Got to put the picks in the middle. But hey, it was nice, Joe. We're gonna sign off here. This was our first show with Ching Ching Sports and Between Two Cappers. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Follow up next time. Follow us on both Instagram and YouTube. Gotta go, guys.
Let's go!
Well, we bring a lot of excitement to the table, that's for sure, Joe. See, like I said, this is gonna be a little wild at times. People, we may get wild, but at the same time, this is Joe. He has been the partner from day one. So
the real MVPs here are Snyder's pet.
anyways.